Fabrice Pothier, who is the former NATO Director of Policy Planning and founding Director of Carnegie Europe. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We've been talking for some time now about this new phase of the war. What do you think it will mean?
Well, I think the Russians are digging in the eastern Donbass to engage into what you can essentially call a war of destruction, which essentially means they're just going to erase entire cities like they're trying to do with Mariupol, empty them of their population, in order to just claim whatever is left of it, including, it's a kind of scorched earth strategy. And what is, I think, the dilemma for Zelensky is that he cannot let Putin get away with that. He's got to protect his population, but he also has to mind his Ukrainian forces, which have been obviously exhausted by more than a month of campaign, even though the units that are deployed in the Eastern Donbass are among the best units, but they're also, I would say, tired and depleted, and they need new capabilities. So there's really a race against time here. And I saw yesterday that the Ukrainian forces are trying to actually cut some of the Russian logistic supply lines, which will be really kind of paralyzing their operation in the Eastern Donbass. So there's really a game of who can move in first before, again, the Russian dig in and start the kind of a war of destruction.
Now, Vladimir Putin has been almost previewing this next phase of the war, this concentration of forces in the eastern part of the country for some time now. However, over the last few nights, there have been airstrikes hitting Kyiv again. And the previously, the city of Lviv, which I know has had a few attacks on the kind of outskirts, but, it has been regarded to be pretty much out of the danger zone. Do you think this was is it to a degree a distraction policy? Do you think that the new phase of the war is going to involve previously safe parts of Ukraine or not?
I think the Russians have been doing this kind of thing from the start, including Lviv. It's indeed a distraction to try to pretend to open different fronts when the main front is going to be clearly in the Donbass. It's also signaling from the Russians to the Ukrainians saying, we can strike wherever we want. However, it's also signaling some level of desperation. And I think this was mostly the missile strike against Lviv yesterday was a kind of a response to the sinking of their flagship a couple of days ago, the Moskva, by the Ukrainian forces. So, and really, if this is the response from the Russians, that shows they don't have many options left. And you have to keep in mind that the more cruise missiles and precise guided munitions they use, the fewer they have in stock. And they probably have pretty low stock right now. So they are burning their options. That's the important thing to know.
But the other thing, of course, is, and we've been discussing this for most of the morning, the Moskva sinking of that particular ship is a huge boon to the Ukrainians, but will most certainly enrage Vladimir Putin and perhaps make him want to be even more final in what he achieves in the East.
Well, that's always been the kind of assumption that if we go too hard against him or push back too hard, he's going to dig in and double down with possibly even tactical nuclear weapons. And of course, we need to do everything to avert that. But on the other hand, we cannot just stay still and not do anything. And I think the sinking of the Moskva by the Ukrainian forces is a huge symbol, especially ahead of the 9th of May parade on the Red Square, which clearly Putin wants to show some kind of victory or greatness. So you are right in the sense that probably now he's going to scramble for some symbols, some positive symbols. And I'm afraid that Mariupol, Kharkiv, and Kherson could be those symbols. If he can claim some form of control of the three key cities, he can show that he's delivered on consolidating the territorial hold in the Donbass. And I think that's what the Ukrainian forces are trying to avert.
Fabrice, thank you for talking to us this morning. That is Fabrice Pothier, who is the former NATO Director of Policy Planning and founding director of Carnegie Europe.